Hi church, it's Pastors Jen and Jacob here with another digital devotion. We were thinking today about this concept of being uncomfortable versus comfortable. I know a lot of people have talked about the quarantine and the pandemic as being a time in our lives that's very uncomfortable and we're being stretched a lot. And I was thinking about how that's not necessarily a bad thing. My niece Sierra, when she was about 4 or 5 years old, started complaining all the time about these pains in her legs. And so we all looked it up on the internet, concerned, and it turns out growing pains is a real thing. When your bones and muscles are stretching at a rapid rate, you often do feel discomfort. And so I was thinking, during this time, a lot of us have been feeling these growing pains, not physically perhaps, but definitely spiritually. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I think we're meant to go through periods in our life in which we feel uncomfortable. And part of that is the growth that we're experiencing, the widening of our worldview, the expanding of our circles of compassion, and just opening ourselves up to a new reality.
That's really good. And I think that relates not just to the pandemic, but also to our current struggle for greater racial justice in this country. There's a lot of memes that people put on the internet where they suggest that Dr. King's nonviolent approach was this sunny, easygoing, they asked for some more rights and they were peaceful about it and everyone gave it to them. But that is completely a whitewashed history. That's not what happened at all. We forget that this was very much a movement rooted in struggle and pain, that the sit-ins and the boycotts, they resulted in people being arrested and beaten and hosed and had dogs put on them and they're put in prison. And we know that Dr. King was murdered. But this movement was for the rights of people, and it required both those who were struggling to push against the system that made comfortable people uncomfortable, but that's what was required. We just celebrated the anniversary of the Stonewall riots, and this was a major moment in the advancement of the rights of the LGBTQ community, and it was a response to people being harassed and arrested violently and criminalized for same-sex relationships. And those uprisings were themselves violent. And that doesn't condone the idea of violence, but it's just a reminder that there's struggle involved. And struggle should be against those systems that allow people to be comfortable without thinking about other people, but also that struggle should make us uncomfortable because it means that we have to be part of the struggle. It means that we have to maybe give up aspects of our life that are part of the system of injustice. And this ties a lot to our faith as well. That what Jesus did was to come and remind people that when they are in systems that oppress people, that they need to be uncomfortable and they need to be pushed out of those comfort zones. And Jesus made a lot of people uncomfortable, and the result was that he was put to death too. So I think it's just really important in this moment in both of these public health crises with this, with our quest to confront racism as a society, we should be uncomfortable. We should be uncomfortable with the way the system works, and we should also recognize that we've got to create discomfort. But the result is growth and stretching.
Yeah, I agree. Join with me in a prayer. Gracious God, help us to live into this moment of discomfort in the world. Help us to remember that often growth and expansion is uncomfortable. And help us to come out on the other side of this stronger with bigger hearts. Amen.
Amen. Just a reminder that our role as pastors is to make all of you uncomfortable sometimes. And it's so that we can become greater disciples of Christ. So we'll embrace the discomfort when it comes.
We'll see you next time.